So why is Brembo such a big deal when it comes to Gran Turismo 7? Obviously, Gran Turismo is going to be making money from them. That is a no-brainer. But why is it such a big deal that a big brakes manufacturer, a performance brakes manufacturer, is part of Gran Turismo 7? Well, as we all know, big businesses like Brembo, they tend to do a lot of research when it comes into their product. And when it comes to research, they have a lot of math and physics what comes along with those braking systems. So what I'm basically getting to is when it comes to Gran Turismo 7, they're trying to make it more realistic than ever before. We hear that from the big CEO of course, Polyphony Digital. It's hard for me to say his exact name, that's why I'm not saying his name, but either way, he wants to make it as more realistic and as lifelike as possible. And the main thing that we're going to be really taking from this is one of two ways the game could go. All braking systems in the game could be very realistic when it comes to Brembo's actual math and physics. Or, if you upgrade your car, this is the second way that they could take this game, and if you upgrade your car's braking system to Brembo, then what basically may happen is you get a much better braking system, which would allow you to essentially go around corners, but a much better braking system that's more realistic. There may be two levels of brakes, the regular non-performance and then the performance, and they may have the different levels of performance Brembo brakes as well. And if that's the case, then the basics are probably going to be absolutely horrible, while the upgraded Brembo as well as the different levels of Brembo brakes may get progressively better and better and better. And what that basically could come down to is the fact that, of course, Brembo is a big sponsor for the game, but it may be a huge, massive upgrade to just the total ability to brake. Because as I was mentioning, Brembo does a lot of research when it comes to the physics of brakes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they may have even a much better prototype version of their brake as their max out $1 million braking system maybe. And that would be really cool. We all know that Gran Turismo likes to put performance and, I wouldn't say necessarily prototype, but kind of dream cars off into the future. They call them prototype cars. And maybe they may have basically a prototype braking system for those cars made by Brembo. And this may be actually an interesting way to see what's coming out in the future for Brembo, the company, as well. My Mustang uses Brembo brakes. They're absolutely fantastic. I can barely touch the brake pedal and I'm stopped. Meanwhile, with my other vehicle that doesn't have Brembo brakes, it doesn't stop anywhere close to the Mustang. And when I was looking for a brake upgrade package for my other vehicle, it's an Escape, I wouldn't say necessarily upgrade. My brakes were worn out. They were getting to the point of needing to be replaced, and Brembo had an actual baseline version of their brake system too. So I would also believe that they would bring that into the game, where they have basically the baseline, and then they've got the beginner level Brembos, and all the way up to just massive calipers and things like that. Now, this is very interesting because also Brembo would be obviously looking at performance of vehicles as well, how they perform on the track, and when it comes to not necessarily braking performance, but just overall track physics, they may also have even more physics, math, and things like that to code into the game so that the game is even more realistic, not just when it comes to the braking ability of the cars, but also the ability to turn, handle, and just how the game feels altogether. What I would be looking for is maybe brake fade when it comes to later on in the race. And as we all know, when brakes start heating up, they don't perform as well. Maybe they start getting worn down, and when you start braking, maybe later on in a race, the steering wheel might shudder a little bit if you obviously race with a steering wheel. There's going to be potentially different physics for different outcomes for different areas of a track and different areas of the actual world. Because as we know, this game is going to have different areas of the world and also different, or I should say, the weather changes in races. And when that happens, those brakes may perform differently in different weather systems. So you may have to change your brakes out, for example, or change the type of brake if you're going into a maybe colder environment versus maybe racing in a desert. You would have to change those brakes out as well and maybe use a different set or a different type, because maybe a certain type of Brembo might not perform the same in cold -10 weather versus +40 weather. And we would have to be really able to differentiate between those two, and that would actually be an interesting option for the game, or a route for the game to take. Anyway, this is my thought on the positives on Brembo being part of Gran Turismo. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.